Here we go. I like perfection. I should probably not just be staring at my screen like a robot in case anyone's watching me here. Clickety clacking around. We're back. Oh yeah. I was just chatting with Paul here, and he confirmed it. All right. I'm not gonna lie. That is from a host perspective. That is just being thrown into the deep end, sir. You're nothing's happening, and then you're in. So um, yeah. Welcome everybody. Sorry we're a little bit late. We've had a couple technical difficulties. I move this over here so I have visibility on chat. So again, Justin, if anyone jumps in and I miss it, just go ahead and yell at me. Yeah, welcome everybody. I assume Paul's in here, but don't know if we have anyone else quite yet. So I'll give kind of just a couple of seconds, and we've been talking about kind of having a better way of the intro. We don't want to waste your guys' time. We know you guys are busy, whether you're listening to us maybe while driving between jobs or on the weekend, or if you're actually joining us live. We know that your time is valuable. It's about as valuable as anyone's, right? Some of the hats you guys have to wear. So we try not to have any dead time, dead air, etc. But we also want to give you guys an opportunity to join us. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? And kind of walking that fine line. So hope everyone's doing well. And we're excited to be back. I know it's been a couple months, I believe, since we went live. We actually meant to go live a couple weeks ago. But we've been having some technical difficulties with our Zoom integrations with Facebook. So we came up with another solution. We're here. Hopefully, it's working well. Quality's good, and so forth. And yeah, there is a lot to talk about. And I know I believe I brought this up right before the holidays, but we want to get back on our normal cadence for these monthly Ask Lives. And again, the goal is that we're running it on the first full week of the month. So for March, for example, I think the first is actually next Friday. It is, yeah. So our goal is that we're looking at the 8th, the first full week of the month to do our March version. And then, we'll kind of continue that cadence moving forward. So excited to get back on that. I know it'll be easier for you guys to plan. Definitely want to give you guys more of a heads up and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna let, as people trickle in, feel free to say hi, anything like that. I'm just gonna keep going through here because, like I said, there's a lot to talk about. So we're gonna talk mobile app first. There are two upcoming releases, one of which is actually in a slow staged release right now. 20% of Android users actually have access to it. It's the 1.4.14 release. I forget exactly what the sub-release version is. I think it's 12, but I don't want to throw too many numbers at you guys. The release numbers can kind of be white noise if you go too deep into the sub-releases. So there's a lot of things that are fixed. We focus on some bug fixes. Really what we've been focused on is some polish the last couple of months in the mobile app and getting it back to a state that you guys could be happy with. There is a payment crash that's fixed on iOS. So we're still working on the Android side. It's a little bit more involved fix on that end. There's some general framework updates we have to do. So we got the fix on iOS. So those of you who are using either Authorize or SMPay or so forth, and you were having that crash issue, that should be resolved on the iOS front. We also fixed an issue where authorized users, any transactions you were making on the mobile front were showing up as a payment type of unknown rather than the actual Visa, Discover, whatever the card network was. That's been fixed. There's a crash on iOS when you're tapping the go to order that's been fixed. And also a checkbox issue. I think this is a big one for a couple of you guys who do a lot of edits on the account screen. If you toggle the checkbox off or on, you can only do that action once. The UI wasn't allowing you to do multiple clicks. So that action's been fixed. And we also cleaned up some of the settings for the agent roles, agent limited and the agent role. So they had access. They were able to view a couple things that they shouldn't have. They couldn't actually toggle some things, but we got that cleaned up as well. What does that mean moving forward? Is 1.4.15. We'll piggyback off of that the next week or two. And there's another big swath of bug fixes. Some of them you guys will be probably excited about. One of the big ones is we put this on our calendar we've had a recurring issue on the day of the daylight savings times change. So for those of you, who live under a rock and don't know about daylight savings time, when that time switch happens, there's a lot of things on the back end that are going on. I don't want to get into too much of it. Dates and time from a software perspective are terrible. It's just a nightmare. You ask any developer, they'll agree that they just want to burn time zones. They just want to, all of that. But the issue was that when you're on the schedule, on the day of the change, the visual display of the job was off by an hour. Everything as far as the job information itself, or should say the appointment information itself, was accurate. So like if you're looking at the technician's task list, it's accurate. If you're looking at the appointment itself, it's accurate. If you even look at the hover details on the job, it's accurate. But in mobile only, on the schedule, the display was off by an hour, and it was only the day of the change. So it's only the Sunday that it actually occurred. Still obviously annoying, especially those of you who are managing multiple routes and kind of just dipping through, don't have time to necessarily be looking at a specific appointment. Obviously, we know that was a fix, or a high priority fix. And we've tried a couple of these in the past, and they hadn't worked. So we kind of put a reminder for early February, like, hey, let's devote some serious time and figure out what's going on here. And we believe we did. So there's still some QA that we need to go through, but that's the big thing. We wanted to make sure that was ready to go by the March 10th time change. So there are some other bug fixes. As always, guys, when we do these releases, we're going to be getting better at communicating what's actually been fixed. So we'll have more communication when it comes to the release notes, and we're actually working on some notifications within the app as well to give more visibility as far as what's been fixed. So yes, excited there. On the desktop side, we have some bigger things. First and foremost, there was an issue that's been ongoing for a few months now for QuickBooks Online QuickBooks Online users, where when you go to run your export, so some of you guys run it daily, some of you guys run it weekly, whatever. But when you went to run the export, it would ask you to re-authenticate every time. It was not holding the token that it's supposed to. We tried a couple of fixes. It got it into at least a better state than what it was, but it was still having the annoyance issue, right, of having to re-authenticate. That's been fixed. That was fixed in a hotfix release a week ago. So if you guys are still having issues there, please let us know. But we're definitely excited to get that out, as I know it's kind of the death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? So just a continuing annoyance there. But that's resolved. We also have the 6.7 release. So I know we've talked about this a great deal. I'm willing to go in and do a quick kind of screen share, kind of as a reminder as far as what's going on. But we're in the final kind of release candidate QA process now. So I'm not going to give a specific date. Early March is kind of the general timing of this. We're just doing that final kind of little polish, and I can say without a doubt that I am ecstatic to get this out. We have a couple of the things that are bottlenecked right behind it, so it's going to be a pretty quick 1, 2, 3 kind of punch behind this, right, as this comes out. So the biggest thing is we have the monthly planner view, right? So you're going to have that ability to toggle on the latest schedule. It's only in schedule 2.0. You can toggle the month view, and you can plan out your month accordingly. So you can figure out where you're light, where you're heavy. You can use it as your starting kind of bird's eye view when you're on a phone call. Say, hey, this week has some availability. Jump into that week, and then there you go to schedule. It's also going to show you, you know what? I don't know why I'm not just doing the screen share. Let's just do this. Let's just go through a couple of these things really quick for anyone who's viewing. Let's jump in here. I was a little bit lazy in filling out my test account, so that's why it's back in November. I didn't move a bunch of jobs forward, so don't judge me too hard on that. That is just it's me. The main thing I said, you can toggle between the month and the week view. Right up here on the left, so you can say, hey, I'm on the week view, or hey, I want to look at the month view, and it has that right there. We also made some quick just kind of usability improvements as far as the arrows here. So the arrows now move forward and back 1 month, and then forward and back 1 year. The week view is similar as far as a week and a month. So I'll show that here if I remember. The big thing, though, as you guys can see, is we have UI indicators and a color coding based on how available your day is. So you can kind of look at this as a goal to get to 100%. Obviously, when needed, you guys can go slightly over that, right? You guys can be a little bit over capacity on a certain day, but you don't necessarily want to be having that overtime conversation continually, right? So the goal is that you get as close to 100% as possible. And you can see that it goes 0 to 50 is green, which is wide open. 50 to 75 is yellow. 75 to 100 is, hey, we're getting pretty full. Kind of be careful what you schedule here, right? So I'm looking at the all resources view right now. So you can see, like, for example, here I've got 8 appointments on the day, and I can just left click it and see all those appointments. I can see which routes they're on. So this one's pretty spread out between all the different routes. But I can also just look at a single resource. I think the F route has some. You can see that on the single resource, it actually shows exactly what the day looks like, right? So I can say, hey, I've got an 8 a.m. Hey, I've got a noon here, or these are actually midnight. Actually, that's test account data. You can see that I can see the actual data here. I can hover over it. I don't have to necessarily click to show on it. So both options are there. We still have the how the indicator for how full the day is. So yeah. We don't allow you to schedule directly off the month view. The idea is that you're using this as kind of that, like I said, the bird's eye view. Find out what's working, and then you can say I can either double click. So I can double click this day. I can right click it and jump to the week, and I can also just work off of the sidebar. If you guys work off the sidebar, you can say, hey, I want to jump to the week, and then boom, you're on that day. And you can find, what fits. So we've got some weird test data here. Ignore, he's doing 24-hour checks and so forth. But you can see here, like, you're just in your normal week view, and then you could pop the schedule in right there. Yeah, really looking forward to getting this feature out. I also wanted to point out that we improved some of the things in the settings as we're working on this. So the business hours are actually, you can fully kind of go off of this. You can say, hey, we're only open Monday through Friday. And so forth. We cleaned up kind of just the general UI here, and there's some other display issues and such that we added as well. So that's the really quick. I'm on a timer kind of showcasing this, but I know it's a feature a lot of you guys have been desperate for, so we're incredibly excited to get this out. Other changes tied to this. There are some email improvements. So if you guys watch Suits, we got Mike Ross here. This has been a request for a while. When you send out an email, you're adding someone new. So let's say Bob Ross at mailnader.com. If I send this, Bob Ross is not attached to this account. And if you're sending something to a new, maybe a site contact or something like that, you might forget to go add that to the account later. Well, we fixed that for you. It'll actually say, hey, do you want to save the Bob Ross email here? And then you can save that right to the account. You can also, if you go into the details page here, we've made the email addition a lot easier on the account screens itself. You can see it's much more like a modern widget. I can say, hey, Bob Ross at mailnader.com. I can save it in there, and now it's there. So it's much easier rather than knowing to have a separator from a comma or a semicolon or so forth. So we also added some more batch functionality. So if I go into the account section here and go to the activities list, a lot of you guys that use big call lists have been requesting this for a while. If I have a bunch of activities, you can see here I've got a bunch of call activities here. I can select all these and I can actually batch complete them. So I can say, hey, these are all done. Update, verification, easy peasy. Users can still go through and do their panel view, do one activity at a time. But this way, if you have to do any cleanup as a manager, you have that ability to do so and save that support ticket, right? We've cleaned up the marketplace. It's going to be split now between the ServiceMonster, tools that are added on and the actual third-party integration. So it's a little bit easier for those, especially newer users, to kind of see that. And I think Paul's watching. But the big thing is we also made some big improvements to the contracts list. So Paul is someone who uses the contracts pretty heavily. And we added a bunch of additions. We added a bunch of views, so you can see, hey, are they inactive? Are they active? Are they, are they doing the auto charge, or are we billing them? And then we added the custom functionality here to actually uh, update columns and so forth. Gave a bunch of default columns that were requested by users, so forth. So now you can see more of that information as needed, and you can customize it to your needs rather than being forced into just the defaults. So excited to do that. Um, there are a ton of other things that are tied to this, but obviously the other big feature is to fill my schedule. And I forgot to give me just 1 second here. Let me turn off my share really quickly. Just jump into a different account so you guys can see this. The new FMS 2.0 custom fronts, self-help, etc. Just reshare as I jump over here. So I'm just going to share kind of the sales screen that we added. Many of you guys who maybe don't know what FMS is or Fill My Schedule, we did not do a very good job of explaining it to you, right? It was very, one-on-one, phone call, email, etc., and then a help article or two, right, as far as sign up goes. And it's a fantastic platform. Whether you use Fill My Schedule directly or do something similar on your own is something I highly recommend for those who are in a market that it makes sense to. And for now, like if you're not using, now you can actually get information about it. So you can see, hey, it comes in an envelope. You can see, how the eight-step default that we have, what the cards look like, improving that repeat rate, testimonials, information from Joe, how it works, pricing, all the card designs we have by default, and those testimonials, like I said. And then now, rather than sending in a form on our end, you can actually sign up directly through here. So I've shown this a couple of times. It would take me quite a bit to show everything as far as like the entire customization, but just know that you can set up your own custom card fronts now. You can set up your own profile. You don't have to come to us for edits. You can make your own campaigns. Maybe you want to do a one-off spring campaign, or you just want to do a one-off holiday campaign. You don't necessarily have to come to us anymore. You can do that on your own. And the big things, like I said, those custom fronts. So if you're someone who has an eye for design or has wanted to use cards that aren't necessarily tied to our defaults, maybe they're branded, something like that, you can now either yourself or use a contractor or something like that, and you can create those cards. So really exciting stuff. It's going to be a major update for everybody. Our FMS team internally is really excited about it as well. But we're so stoked to have this out. Like I said, it's a premier product. It works. It primarily works because it's tethered to the system, and you don't have to think about, hey, did I actually, take the mailing list, to the post office, or did I send it to the third party or whatever? It just makes sure that you don't forget that. It has an automated kind of timing level to it, and it's proven results. We average an 800% ROI. So overall, excited to get that out. And I know that we're tired of talking about it. So, yeah, we're excited for that early March. So what's after 6.7 though? This is probably some of the things that some of the other listeners who are hopping on. I know Paul is kind of curious what else is coming out. So the following release, the 6.8 or whatever we end up numbering it as, we're getting into beta for our new payment options. So the ServiceMonster Pay 2.0. So we're going to have a beta of a few users. I've already reached out to a few. We've got some confirmed. And we're going to be basically having a 30-day period or so where we kind of just make sure that things look good and we're not just throwing things out there like we did with SMP 1.0. There's a lot of things we've learned from that. So we're going to be doing that. There are phases to this. So we're still just looking at the initial phase to kind of implement what we already had, just improved. So card not present, making sure that we have faster turnaround time on settlement. That's a big one. So we heard you guys loud and clear. That was a big stickler for you guys. So this new version has much faster turnaround time. And we also want to make sure that onboarding process is less sticky so that it's smooth for you guys. And so it's another big thing that we kind of looked at there. So, and obviously all of the payment options that existed are still there. You can add a card on file without charging. Cards can get saved on file. There's now an easier toggle, by the way, so you can choose to save a card on file or not. And yeah, the recurring contract that I showed, that features in there. You'll be able to void or refund directly from ServiceMonster. Bunch of cool stuff there, right? So that's what's being worked on. Like I said, we're rolling the beta out later in March, and then we'll have kind of wide release after that 30-day beta period, and we're comfortable with where that landed. So there's also a phase 2 to this, but I'm gonna keep the details a little bit scarcer just until we know for sure exactly what devices we're looking at and so forth. But we're going to be looking at having card present device options for those of you who want them. So that's kind of the phase 2. And there is a phase 3 as well, but it's a little bit further down the way. But we're really looking at making sure this payment process is smooth, that we are utilizing, latest technologies and finding, ways that it's a smooth process for both the customer and for any of your technicians out in the field and so forth. So we're pretty excited about all that. There are also some other pretty big changes that are tied to both us internally and our users. So first off, I think I mentioned Pindo once before, but we're rolling out our Pindo installation. Pindo does a lot of things. It helps us kind of track metadata and usage and things like that, so that we can actually see if a new feature goes out, is it actually being used? We can, see if there's we'll actually be able to track success and things like that on that much easier. It'll also allow us to maybe write guides and point out like, hey, this new feature exists. I can't tell you guys how many times I've had a conversation with someone, whether it's in SMUG, whether it's in email, whether it's in person, where it's like, I didn't even know that this feature existed, and they're all excited about it. But it's also just like, wow, that feature's been out for a year. So how can we improve messaging and so forth? So it's a big tool for that. But it's also going to be a training tool and a communication tool. It allows us those in-app training sessions that we've built. So I guess I can actually just show you all of these welcome lessons and such that we built here that, starts the video down here and sort of steps through that. It's a much more modern version of that. We're going to be able to build that into all over the app in places we can help, maybe an admin user who needs help on the administration settings. I'm actually going to just turn this off so you guys can see my beautiful face. But so it's going to be catered to the user. We'll have mobile, we'll have desktop. Like I said, all of that training is going to be there. So if you're a new user coming on, you feel great. And also if you guys hire a new employee and you're already well established in ServiceMonster, it's also easier for you guys to train someone new, not having everything rely solely on you. But really the core of this that I would say is that our goal is in 2024 to become a much more proactive company rather than a reactive company. That's really the kind of the crystal goal that I have on top of some other just general kind of feature goals and things like that. And this is really the big step that's going to take us there. Like we're going to be able to have the data that we need to make sure that we're really building where you guys need, where you guys want, and also that we're capturing that before we have to rely on you guys necessarily reaching out to us. So that's really the big step there. There are a ton of other things that are going on behind the scenes in terms of QA, in terms of dev and so forth. I don't really want to get too deep into right now, but just know that there are some pretty drastic changes that are coming. And speaking on that, what's kind of leading the charge on some of these changes is, I don't know if some of you have heard yet or not. It's been out for a couple of weeks. We wanted to kind of let it breathe a little bit before we mentioned it here. But we have exciting news about ServiceMonster. And this month it was announced that ServiceMonster was acquired by Teamfront. They are a strategic partner to founder-owned software companies like us. And already Teamfront has kind of proven itself as a committed partner to ServiceMonster in kind of like I was explaining, really putting us on a path for some of these things to have a much better, like I said, proactive experience for you guys. I've learned a ton already, and we're excited for the next chapter and for continuing to make you guys, a better and better product that you guys are all excited for. There are some other things we have. I guess actually that we had plans. I don't know if any of you guys were at the home service workshop. We're excited to be there. We're looking at other conferences and conventions this year to kind of be pushing out. So if there's any that you guys really recommend outside of the big ones, like the Experience or the oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the pressure washing one, the huge convention. Go ahead and let us know. Um, uh oh, Carrie, no, I promise you. Um, I'll be completely transparent with you. I had similar thoughts. Not something you guys need to worry about. I'm gonna share the press release. Everything has been an improvement, truly so far. So I'm not just saying that because there's someone behind me, holding up the gun. It's been a pretty amazing experience for everybody. And yeah, we're excited for what's next. Now, the other. Oh, I already kind of went through that. So I'm gonna let that kind of breathe for a second. If anyone else wants to chime in or has questions for me or so forth, feel free. I'm gonna dive into some of the SMUG Q&A while that goes on. But yeah, if there's any other questions that come through, go ahead and throw them up. Eric jumped in and he was actually talking about recurring billing. So we need something that will charge customers a certain amount every month automatically. If there's an interface that they can use without involving our staff, fantastic. So I highlighted this because there were a lot of comments and feedback and things that work. Some people use Stripe. Some people use the contracts that we have with SMPay. And there were some other third-party options that were listed there as well. So first off, thank you everyone for chiming in. Again, first and foremost, guys, SMUG is a way for you guys to access myself and support and the rest of the team at ServiceMonster. And if there is something going wrong, if you have a feature request, and we love those, and like on the the bug stuff, we want to make sure that we're getting you guys access to support ASAP. But I think the best utilization of SMUG is that you guys have a group of like-minded, intelligent, and hardworking business owners, and being able to leverage that and talk to each other and use that, I think, is the number one reason to be in SMUG. And so I love seeing that. So appreciate everyone. Wanted to shout that out. This one I threw in because I knew that Paul would be watching. Paul actually threw something up last month asking some updates as far as the recurring jobs, and a bunch of those, I'm happy to say, were implemented. So what I was kind of showing there, some of the things he talked about as far as the grids, so forth, we were actually ahead of him on that. We had those planned for this release. And he also added a couple others that he said, or he suggested. So we're taking a look at those, have them into, the backlog, and some, basically just showcasing that it's something we're already working on. The feature request he had was fantastic, and he also provided a ton of context as to why. I'll always throw that out there, guys. When you have a feature request, Carrie's in here. He's actually been fantastic about that too. Alan is a big one who throws these out. When you have the feature request, the more context you give me, the better off the conversation is going to just jumpstart, because it helps me understand what the actual true underlying problem is, rather than just the UI itself and kind of how that works within the app. And so always appreciate you guys when you do that. Keep it on in that regard. We also had another feature request came in through from Jimmy, which actually was kind of a roundabout. He was a new user to SM6. He's been a long time user in the legacy software, and had some questions about how to when he's scheduling the job, how to handle the hover pop-up, and some things on how he had his screen settings. So first and foremost, we got him some help on a couple of the settings, and also ended up being a fantastic feature request for what he had. So again, another example of someone being brave, trying the new version, and also just opening it up there for discussion to get eyeballs on it. Because once I saw it, I saw the option. It's there. We've already got this fix in. Jimmy, if you're listening, it will be in the following the 6.8 release, not the 6.7. So, but that is part of that release. There was another big post from Erika. Couple improvements needed in mobile. So this is a lot of this was tethered to activities or tasks in mobile, depending on if you guys use those heavily or not. But there's a bunch of discussion in here about how to use tasks, how to create them, how to manipulate them in mobile. And again, I just want to shout out, there were multiple users that jumped in and kind of gave advice even before our support team had seen it. So thank you guys for that and for the advice. And then there was also a couple of feature requests that came from this in terms of visibility on the schedule that we've kind of added to the backlog and are mulling through as well on our product team. So again, thank you, Erika. Um, there's another post. I think this one was also Paul, but the name got cut off. I'm pretty sure this was Paul. Talking about email drip campaigns. This is another thing that you see occasionally. But when you guys have wins that you feel like, whether it's ServiceMonster related or business related, if you guys want to share that, like we love to see that because it typically has some collaboration tied to it as well. Um, but he set up some drip campaigns on the email front and was just excited and kind of shared that because he hadn't been using that functionality until now. And so we kind of asked the forum, who uses the marketing tool, what do you use it for, what else have you used, and so forth. And it got a bunch of great discussion and some really cool kind of really specific campaigns and such like that. And so again, just wanted to shout that out. Alan and David and Paul and so forth, if you guys were tied to that. Definitely a healthy discussion and exciting to see that Paul was using the automated drip campaigns. And this one, I'm just going to mention, I kind of figured that either Carrie or one of the others would be here. Alan had another post about the rug process, tracking and reporting rugs and so forth. This is something that I've had pretty heavy discussion with some of the users. I know that it's a big want. I shouldn't say want, a big need for those who are heavy with the in-shop rug cleaning process. We're still trying to find a time to fit this into the roadmap. We know that it's going to be a huge win for those of you when we get to that stage. I do want to shout out those that have already kind of taken that time to kind of help plan out the project. I've got a ton of data and so forth to use there. It's really just a matter of fitting it in on the priorities. Now, in the past, I've gotten in trouble with not necessarily even just myself, Joe, Joe as well, about promising upcoming features and so forth too early. And it's better to under promise and over deliver, right? Than the opposite. And so what I want to just tell you guys is there are two really big features that we're working on that I will be able to tease a little bit more in depth in the next month or two. You guys are going, I can tell you right now, you guys are going to be absolutely excited for. So they are core features you guys have been asking for. It's at the top of a lot of the top 10 lists and so forth you guys post in SMUG. We've definitely been listening to the feedback there. And we've made some pretty big, I'll say prototypes as far as what they're going to look like. And as soon as I can, I'm going to share those when we have an actual true timeline as far as what the roadmap looks like. But I'm just going to tease it there. I'm sorry if I hope that's not mean to kind of tease that, get you guys salivated a little bit, but we're definitely excited for it. What I guess I should say, just 2024 is going to be a very big year for all of you guys. We're going to get back to the 10 out of 10 NPS scores, what we really want from your guys' point of view in terms of the features you guys need. I'm going to be adding some improved kind of channels, whether it's for beta testing or for just kind of like a collaborative forums for some of the users that are more power users or sort of who have kind of a heavy voice already in kind of the development itself. There's a lot of things I want to do to just make sure that I'm, communicating and working with you guys as much as possible, and that we're getting the features out that you guys want and need, and that we, continue to stay at the absolute, top of the class when it comes to carpet cleaning, pressure washing, exterior cleaning, soft wash. I always have to be very careful with that. Soft wash and pressure wash, very different things. I joke, but I did that my very first training session ever was with the soft wash user, and I made that mistake. And oh man, that was one of those foot and mouth moments. But yeah, I'm truly dedicated. I hope that comes across. I hope you guys know how passionate I am about making a product that is fantastic for you guys and talking with you. The common visitors you guys have here, always love chatting with you guys and getting more. And I want to expand that. I want to make sure that, if you guys are open to it and want to have more of those communication, that we have that. So it's all centered around, like I said, being more proactive rather than reactive. It really is the core goal, in a lot of ways. And yeah, we're excited to get those things out and have a fantastic 2024. So I don't think I saw anything else come through. Oh, Paul mentioned about the drip campaigns. Listen, just the first one that he did, he ran, he got about $2,500 in new business. That's awesome, Paul. That's what you want, is you want to have those things automated and ticking in the background. It's interesting. Carrie's got a ton of these, as far as I think his chirp connection and some other things that he utilizes. But, the more of that you can automate and get ready to go and not have to think about it, and it's just a continuous, just kind of drip of new business or, retention of returning business. So, but I think at that point, I've kind of sputtered my way through this. Like I said, exciting stuff coming out in March with the mobile and desktop releases. And like I said, it's going to be kind of a pretty quick wave after that 6.7 release comes out. That's going to have some things immediately after it. I completely skipped over. I can't believe this. Those of you who stuck around to the end, you get a little bonus. We are working on in parallel with these other feature improvements and so forth. We're doing not a full overhaul. We're just kind of cleaning up, making some UI UX improvements. It's a big thing that I've wanted for a little while now, especially for new users, new hires, etc. Like having the training elements is all fine and dandy, but we want to make sure too that we have our user experience is top class, right? So we want to make sure that, yes, we're giving you guys all the data and all the options and things that you need, but that it's also kind of in a more digestible format. And so we're just doing, like I said, we're not doing a complete overhaul. We're not doing anything like that, but we're just making some tweaks, some UI UX improvements, and so forth. So I'm excited to get that out for you guys as well. Just kind of modernize the app a little bit. So when I say app, I mean both web and mobile. So SM6 and mobile both. So that's my poor timing, but end of the Ask Live little sneak peek, I guess. I hope I didn't cause any annoyance by kind of the sneak peek of a couple of things without actually diving into them. But like I said, we've definitely mentioned things too early before, and I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that when we're making the promise for you guys that we're going to deliver on that, and that's also A plus. You guys are absolutely just knocked out and wowed, right? So that's really the goal. I hope everyone has a fantastic week. I hope any of the Kim Dryden Enhanced listeners that are watching or listening come and visit. I'm going to be at the convention next week. So if you guys are there, any of you listeners are there, please make sure to stop by the booth or join one of the breakout sessions I'm leading or so forth. Love to just see you, chat with you. Maybe if you have some ideas, feature requests, etc. Love to jot those down. But just love meeting you guys. I was actually at the home service workshop a few weeks ago that Responsibid puts on. So I think I mentioned that earlier. But it was just so great to be out. I have not really been to too many of these events since COVID hit, which we're coming up on 4 years now. And it was so great to just be face to face with you guys and have those conversations. And just because we bleed for all of our users. That we want to make sure you guys are as successful as possible, and being able to have those face-to-face interactions and build those relationships. It's so critical rather than having everything digital all the time. So, yeah, if any of you guys are there, feel free to come stop by. And otherwise, hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Take care, guys.